Half the day, I'm Devin Aligio from the Pacific News Center, and you're watching Coffee with the Candidates. I'm sitting here with Mr. Jonathan Savares. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. Yourself?
I'm doing absolutely swell. Now, do you drink a lot of coffee?
Uh, I lived in Washington for a long time, so of course, it's part of the culture up there in Washington to live, to consume a lot of coffee. It's very cold, cold climate, so coffee is one of those things that I've become accustomed to drinking and consuming on a daily basis.
On a daily basis to get you through your day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, let's get right into it. I wanted to ask, why did you want to run for senator?
So over the years, what I with the background that I come from, right? My mom is Mayor Melissa Savares. She's been a mayor for the last 22 years. And throughout those years, our family has actually helped in the background of the community because it's a community effort, especially in a large municipality like Darito. So we had to come out of the woodwork and just address concerns as we received the dead dogs, junk cars. I still yield potholes. I hear the concerns every day. And this is the same concerns I've been hearing for the last 15, 20 years since my mom's been in office. So when I take all the concerns that I grew up hearing, and then as I got into my adult life, right, started hearing concerns about why can't the mismanagement of government and why can't we streamline processes to make things easier in the community, they led me to think of something my mom told me, is that the legislature talks at us versus to us. And it's time for I feel that it's time for somebody in the legislature to just sit, instead of just talking with the mayors, but to sit with the mayors and create legislation that's fruitful for the growth of our community, because they are truly the backbone of our community.
Right. Okay. So, you talk about mismanagement in the legislature. Well, what do you mean by that?
So when we look at things that have to happen in the community, right? When it comes to potholes, junk car removals, emergency response, when we look at the municipal level, the hands are tied. It has to go through, not just within the legislature, right? The legislature doesn't come out there and help us pull junk cars out of the road. They don't yield to dead dog calls on a regular basis. They don't even understand that. There's a lot of people who don't even understand that this is happening on a daily basis because we're in Agana, right? We're in Agana and we don't hear the concerns. They hear the concerns, but hearing the concerns versus hearing the concerns, it doesn't lead you to solving the problem when you're not out on the ground. It doesn't help us to solve the long-standing issues that we see that from our community, where the pothole opens up and we're waiting 2 years for it to be fixed, right? This is a management issue of getting the resources out to the community versus sending it through so many mechanisms, and then, of course, the procurement dying in some areas.
Speaking of the community, I wanted to ask, what can you bring to the community of Guam?
So I bring I'm very tenacious. Right before we started this segment, I was telling you about how I had to recover. Right. I was on a cane I was actually medically retired from the United States Army. And when I retired, I came home, I was unable to walk on my own, right? I was on a cane, I was on a lot of narcotics. I was dealing with a bunch of pain management issues, PTSD issues. And as I progressed and found my own way medically, I was able to, with staying tenacious, right, and wanting to recover. This is the mentality that I want to take into the legislatures, is that tenacity of just never giving up, because a lot of times people just give up the fight. But if I had to fight to learn how to walk again, learn how to just be a normal human being, it takes a lot of tenacity to get through that. And in the legislature, we need that kind of tenacity to never give up on our people, because this is what leads us into the kind of the struggles that we see on a regular basis, because we just don't have the strength, right? There's issues that money just kind of drives it all. And I don't find that as my driver. My driver is the people.
Well, tenacity is a great word to use. Now, you said that you were on a cane for a while. Yes. And you had to recover. What was that recovery process like?
Long and arduous one. When I came back from Iraq in 2010, I was actually active duty. And as I was going through the recovery, I didn't know what was going to happen. I was on crutches for 6 months when I was in Washington, and my wife and I, we were just on our own. We didn't have that support mechanism to actually bring us back up. I was going through massive amounts of PTSD treatment. And as I recovered, I was looking for alternatives, and I found myself seeing people in Washington recover, actually be able to get their lives under control, back with managing their pain and especially their PTSD through medical cannabis. And I'm very fortunate. I was the second medical cannabis patient to be certified on Guam over 6 years ago. And I've been the longest running medical cannabis patient on island. So legally, I've been consuming cannabis as my medicine on Guam for the last 6 years. And because of my medical choices, I'm no longer on narcotics. I'm no longer on any PTSD medication. And I find more relief, and I don't have the struggles of that weighing down from the pharmaceutical effect that was causing me to just be, in Chamorro we say lung at lazy, and it was just weighing me down. And then as I was able to get my pain under control, I was able to kind of progress forward. And of course, when I look at how it all works and ties in together, this is what I dream that we can do for our people. Because at the end of the day, if we can get more people in a healthier sense and off pharmaceuticals that we know is not, there's a lot of research showing that pharmaceuticals kill people on a regular basis, and we give them an option, not force anybody to do anything, but an option to avail of, to actually help, to give them some sort of sense of peace and respite in their recovery.
Wow, that's your process was a very long one, and tenacity.
Over 10 years.
10 years.
Over 10 years.
A 10-year journey. So I think it's safe to say that your experience in the military and your even your recovery process, it can be applicable to your time in office should you run, and how can it be applied? So
taking what I've learned over the years, right? So we talk about my recovery. Even while I was in recovery and I was still on my cane and I was still going through massive amounts I was still dealing with a lot of pain, I was still out there clearing roads during typhoons, still out there helping the community and just in the background, right? And this is the same, now that I'm in a healthier sense and I'm able to walk on my own and I'm able to interact with people once again. This mentality is what I'm taking into the legislature, right? I'm taking this thought process into the legislature because now I have an ability to transcribe what I did over the last 10 years and that recovery effort to actually go and take what I've learned and apply it to in our legislature and apply it to and work towards applying it to our island to help people.
It's truly a journey, I bet. And I wanted to ask you a question specific to current events and the times. I mean, for the past 2 years, 3 years almost, that we've been through a very long, very tiring pandemic. And I wanted to ask you this question: how do you think Guam could recover from the negative impacts of COVID-19, and where do we start with that?
So, I believe that we need to focus on our economy. Focusing on our economy is one of the pillars of my platform, right? And I have three specific areas to deal when I look at economic recovery. First and foremost, we actually have to work towards more sustainable farmings. What I want to do on this is taking derelict parks within our community, and throughout the island, we have areas that are designated as parkland, but we don't have the infrastructure to build these parks out, and we don't have the maintenance abilities to take care of these parks, right? What I want to do is actually transcribe these derelict parks into farmland, small farms small farming developments for the community that people can adopt, and it's right in their villages and right in the municipalities. This creates a small sustainability program within our villages that people can actually create small businesses by selling their vegetables, or going back to something that I grew up watching, is selling their produce to the community. Right there next to creating more farmers markets. Second part of this economic recovery thing is creating new industry. And I really wanted to get into the 2018 Farm Bill and develop a hemp industry. By developing a hemp industry, this hemp is actually federally protected. It's federally legal, and we can actually export it off our shores and bring money from off our shores into Guam. But I want to take it further and actually solve a problem and look at hemp as a social equity program. to help redevelop, to develop Chamorro land trusts, because CLTC lands have been a long-standing issue that need to get funded, and we need to develop these lands so we can actually get these lands to the people who actually most need it. But we can't give it to them without the proper infrastructure being put in place. The only way to do it is to create a new economic driver that can fund that.
Wow. You're a big advocate for cannabis use on the island.
Yes.
Okay, that's
Well, I'm a medical. My primary focus is medical, and I actually believe in a medical and a patient-focused cannabis industry. Putting our patients first as in the whole industry would actually help us to keep. If we put our patients first, and the people who have the need for cannabis therapy and treatment, then everything will flow. It's like the goodness of our hearts, right? If we take care of the people who most need it, then money will come. Money will come as long as we're doing the things for the greater good of our community. And by allowing people to actually recover and giving them the options, then the profits will eventually come. And talking to the cannabis community, they believe that, and we know this, and this is what they're currently doing right now.
All right, we're running out of time, but I wanted to ask. No, it's wonderful. I love talking to you. You're very passionate about bringing good to the people. I wanted to ask you one last question.
Yes.
And what sets you apart from the other candidates?
My recovery.
Your recovery.
My recovery sets me apart because nobody has walked the journey, right? Being the mayor's son, 22 years of service, going back into my lineage. My great-grandfather is Vicente Beneventi. San Augustine Beneventi Middle School is named after my great-grandfather, who was the last appointed commissioner, first elected mayor of Darito. And then going into the lineage of what my mom's been doing for the last 22 years, and taking the learning experiences from those people and those generations, the stories that I've absorbed for so many years on the ground, and then looking at those challenges that were faced and the rewards that were won over the years, taking those and fusing those ideas from the challenges we have today to making Guam great again. That's what really sets me apart from a lot of other people. Is I'm always looking for the greater good, the half full versus the half empty. We got to stop looking at the negative and look at the positive in life. Because the reality is, if we keep looking at the negative impacts, we're never looking at what we're doing great and progressing on and standing up and pushing forward with the things that we're doing great to move our community forward.
Oh, I'm going to tear up.
Sorry.
Oh my God, I'm crying. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your process, your recovery, it's a very inspiring one to
Thank you.
a whole lot of people, from the military and even not from the military. It was great speaking today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.